Hello, time for a little win. Guess we're still on whatever chapter we were on, 15. I may go back just a little bit. I'm so glad this is Joe talking to Dan. I'm so glad that you told Demi about leaves and things. It's just what he needs, and I wish you would teach him and take him to walk with you. I'd like to. He's so bright, but what? I didn't think you'd trust me. Why not? Well, Demi is so kind of precious and so good, and I'm such a bad lot. I thought you'd keep him away from me. But you're not a bad lot, as you say, and I do trust you, Dan, entirely, because you honestly try to improve and do better and better every week. Really? And Dan looked up at her with a cloud of despondency lifting from his face. Yes, don't you feel it? Well, I hoped so, but I didn't know. I have been waiting and watching quietly, for I thought I'd give you a good trial first, and if you stood it, I would give you the best reward I had. And you have stood it well, and now I'm going to trust not only Demi, but my own boy to you, because you can teach them some things better than any of us. Can I? And Dan looked amazed at the idea. Demi has lived among older people so much that he needs just what you have knowledge of. Common things, strength and courage. He thinks you're the bravest boy he ever saw and admires your strong way of doing things. Then you know a great deal about natural objects, and can tell him wonderful tales of birds and bees and leaves and animals than his storybooks give him, and being true, these stories will teach and do him good. Don't you see how much you can help him and why I like to have him with you? But I swear sometimes, and I might tell him something wrong. I wouldn't mean to, but it might slip out just as Devil did a few minutes ago. And Dan, anxious to do his duty and let her know his shortcomings. I know you try not to say or do anything to harm the little fellow. And here is where I think Demi will help you, because he's so innocent and wise in his small way, and has what I'm trying to give you, dear, good principles. It is never too early to try and plant them in a child, and never too late to cultivate them in the most neglected person. You are only boys yet. You can teach one another. Demi will unconsciously strengthen your moral sense. You will strengthen his common sense. And I shall feel as if I helped you both. Words could not express how pleased and touched Dan was by this confidence and praise. No one had ever trusted him before. No one had cared to find out and foster the good in him. And no one had suspected how much there was hidden away in the breast of the neglected boy, going fast to ruin, yet quick to feel and value sympathy and help. No honor that he might earn hereafter would ever be half so precious as the right to teach his few virtues and small store of learning to the child whom he most respected. And no more powerful restraint could have been imposed upon him than the innocent companion confided to his care. He found courage now to tell Mrs. Joe of the plan already made with Demi, and she was glad that the first step had been so naturally taken. Everything seemed to be working well for Dan, and she rejoiced over him, because it had seemed a hard task, yet working on with a firm belief in the possibility of reformation. In far older and worse subjects than he, there had come this quick and hopeful change to encourage her. He felt that he had friends now and a place in the world, something to live and work for. And though he said little, all that was best and bravest in a character made old by a hard experience responded to the love and faith bestowed on him, and Dan's salvation was assured. Their quiet talk was interrupted by a shout of delight from Teddy, who, to the surprise of everyone, did actually catch a trout where no trout had been seen for years. He was so enchanted with his splendid success that he insisted on showing his prize to the family before Asia cooked it for supper. So the three descended and went happily away together, all satisfied with the work of that half hour. Ned was the next visitor to the tree, but he only made a short stay, sitting there at his ease while Dick and Dolly caught a pailful of grasshoppers and crickets for him. He wanted to play a joke on Tommy and intended to tuck up a few dozen of the lively creatures in his bed so that when Bangs got in, he would speedily tumble out again and pass a portion of the night in chasing hopper grasses instead of grasshoppers round the room. The hunt was soon over, and having paid the hunters with a few peppermints apiece, Ned retired to make Tommy's bed. For an hour the old willow sighed and sung to itself, talked with the brook, and watched the lengthening shadows as the sun went down. The first rosy color was touching its graceful branches when a boy came stealing up the avenue across the lawn, and spying Billy by the brookside, went to him, saying in a mysterious tone, "Go and tell Mr. Bear I want to see him down here, please. Don't let anyone hear." Billy nodded and ran off while the boy swung himself up into the tree and sat there looking anxious, yet evidently feeling the charm of the place. An hour and 5 minutes Mr. Bear appeared, and stepping up on the fence, leaned into the nest, saying kindly, "I'm glad to see you, Jack, but why not come and meet us all at once?" It's Jack back. "I wanted to see you first, please, sir. Uncle made me come back. I know I don't deserve anything, but I hope the fellows won't be hard upon me." Poor Jack did not get on very well, but it was evident that he was sorry and ashamed, and wanted to be received as easily as possible, for his uncle had thrashed him well, and scolded him soundly for following the example he himself set. Jack had begged not to be sent back, but the school was cheap, and Mr. Ford insisted. So the boy returned as quietly as possible and took refuge behind Mr. Bear. "I hope not, but I can't answer for them, though I will see that they are not unjust. I think as Dan and Nat have suffered so much being innocent, you should suffer something being guilty, don't you?" asked Mr. Bear, pitying Jack, yet feeling he deserved a punishment for a fault which had so little excuse. "I suppose so, but I sent Tommy's money back and said I was sorry. Isn't that enough?" said Jack rather sullenly, for the boy who could do so mean a thing was not brave enough to bear the consequence well. "No, I think you should ask pardon of all three boys openly and honestly. You cannot expect them to respect and trust you for a time, but you can live down this disgrace if you try, and I will help you. Stealing and lying are detestable sins, and I hope this will be a lesson to you. I'm glad you're ashamed. It's a good sign. Bear it patiently and do your best to earn a better reputation." "I'll have an auction and sell off all my goods dirt cheap," said Jack, showing his repentance in the most characteristic way. "I think it would be better to give them away and begin on a new foundation. Take honesty is the best policy for your motto, and live up to the act and word and thought, and though you don't make a cent of money this summer, you will be a rich boy in the autumn," said Mr. Bear earnestly. It was hard, but Jack consented, for he really felt that cheating didn't pay, and wanted to win back the friendship of the boys. His heart clung to his possessions, and he groaned inwardly at the thought of actually giving away certain precious things. Asking pardon publicly was easy compared to this, but then he began to discover that certain other things, invisible but most valuable, were better property than knives, fish hooks, or even money itself. So he decided to buy up a little integrity, even at a high price, and secure the respect of his playmates, though it was not a salable article. Well, I'll do it, he said with a sudden air of resolution which pleased Mr. Bear. Good, and I'll stand by you. Now come and begin at once. And Father Bear led the bankrupt boy back into the little world, which received him coldly at first, but slowly warmed to him when he showed that he had profited by the lesson and was sincerely anxious to go into a better business with a new stock in trade. Finally, that's the end of 15. I think, well, how many parts was that? Maybe just 3, but it seemed like a lot. Okay, so we will stop there for today, and tomorrow we'll be on chapter 16, called Taming the Colt. C-O-L-T, colt. Okay, hope you have a happy Monday. I have some happy mail to open. And I've got the Advent calendar. And then live at 5. Woo! Busy day. Thais, I got your card if you're listening. If you're not, you'll soon see. Be sweet. Don't be ugly. Love you all. Bye-bye.